But before we do that, there were two people who had a great impact on our services throughout December who kind of had a rough week. First is Dennis Harmon, who is always here, always taking pictures, or there or up there, making a difference. Spent the week in the hospital for Christmas this week. And he's doing much better. He came home yesterday, and we're pretty excited about that. And then I received word last night that Orla, our singer, Orla, remember Orla? She's about this big. Broke her leg yesterday. So as part of service today, we're going to, since they made our holiday so amazing, we're going to send them a little get well soon wish, and we're going to do it if they're watching live. And I'm also going to do it on what this thing is called, a video. So here we go. So I'm going to say, Orla and Dennis. And we're all going to say, get well soon. I'm saying this like they're probably watching the service. Okay, so you ready? Orla and Dennis, get well soon. Holiday season. So today we are talking about saying yes, the year of yes. Oftentimes we say yes and no to things without really thinking, right? In fact, oftentimes, and today we're going to talk a little more about this, we speak without really thinking. That happens. Sometimes we say no to everything because we're way too busy, yet other times we say yes to everything because we want to please somebody else, or we think it's going to make the world a better place somehow. Well, it's all a little messed up. Why? Because we don't take time to pause and think about it. Today, our scripture text comes to us from Matthew's Gospel. We're looking at the Message. And I think Jesus knew that we would always have this problem. Here are these words from Jesus as he says to the group gathered in front of him. He says simply this: don't say anything you don't mean. This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. You only make things worse when you lay down a smokescreen of pious talk, saying, I'll pray for you, and never doing it, or saying, God be with you, and not meaning it. You don't make your words true by embellishing them with religious lace. In making your speech sound more religious, it becomes less true. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate words to get your way, you go wrong. I love that. Jesus says it. Well, in this translation, I love it. Just say yes and no. That's what we're going to focus on today. So I am a little behind the times because I'm trying to commit myself not to buy books anymore. And sometimes at the Indianapolis Library, you have to wait a really long time to get a book. And I finally got this book by Shonda Rhimes, who is my new superhero. Shonda Rhimes, who is arguably one of the most successful women of color in TV right now. She is a creator, a writer, a producer of several shows. I mean, she is the woman behind Grey's Anatomy and Scandal. Oh, I love Scandal. And How to Get Away with Murder. She's basically in charge of everything during prime time on Thursday nights on ABC. And it's been that way for years. She's also the youngest child in a large family that was in the town right next to where I grew up. In fact, when I was reading, I've gone online and I've read some more about her. I know the church, the Catholic church she went to as a kid. It's just so amazing. Well, a few years ago, while she was preparing Thanksgiving dinner with her oldest sister, she was telling her sister how success had brought on so many different invitations. I mean, she'd been invited to be part of talk shows and conferences and keynote speakers and to travel to meet with really important people and dignitaries. You name it, Shonda was on the A-list of people that you wanted at your gathering. So she said all the things that were coming ahead in the year to come. And so her sister said to her, so are you going to do any of these things? And Chandra turned to her sister and said, no, of course not. I'm not going to do any of these things. I'm too busy. She told her sister, I'm a working single mother. I write a lot. In fact, come on, Thursday night is Shondaland never say yes to anything played over and over and over again in Shonda's head for weeks, until she woke up in the middle of the night one time and realized, which is always so hard for the younger sisters, that her sister was right. She never said yes to anything. She always had a reason for never saying yes. But the truth about life was, she always said no because saying yes was too scary. And her fear had led her to put these walls around herself. And despite all outward appearances of how amazingly successful she was really pretty miserable on the inside. So she vowed, starting on her birthday in January, that she would have an entire year which she would start saying yes to anything and everything that scared her, which was later chronicled in the book I was telling. It's a little different than ours. But something tells me that you can relate to her. And something tells me that she could relate to this text that Jesus gives us here today. And we all can relate to it as well. Something tells me that sometimes we get involved in lots of different conversations, and they really end up not really bringing any meaning into our lives and into this world. But the truth is if we pause before moving into a conversation and we think yes, instead of immediately figuring out why no, we might find that in 2020, it's the year of, here's my new word, God-pertunities. Huh? 2020 is going to be the year of God-pertunity, and it's going to make a difference in your life. Not only saying yes, but being very intentional about every word that comes out of your mouth. I want you to be intentional and let your yes be yes and your no be no. No is, you can't say no. I know, you're here. Well, some of you are not here today because I wore you out so much at Christmas, Ken Oswald. You don't say no. You say yes, and you get things done. Now, sometimes you do that because you're in a good position and you can do that, but sometimes it's because you don't want to disappoint me or you don't want to disappoint somebody else. Sometimes you say it because no just makes you feel too bad. So today, for those of us who have trouble setting boundaries, who have trouble finding the right words, we're going to pause and really consider how our yes can be yes and how our no can be no. And I do, as I said before, think Shonda did think about the scripture text that I'm going to read again, because this is important today and for the rest of the year. It's from Matthew 5, verse 33 to through 37. And this is Jesus' message for us as we move into 2020. I think he says, and don't say anything you don't mean. This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. You only make things worse when you lay down a smoke screen of pious talk, saying, I'll pray for you, and never doing it, or saying, God be with you, and not meaning it. You don't make your words true by embellishing them with religious lace. In making your speech sound more religious, it becomes less true. Let's say this next line together. Just say yes and no. Say that one more time. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate words to get your way, you go wrong. Now, you might not be able to relate to Jesus talking about religious tradition and pious talk, but I can communicate in such a way that your yes is not yes and your no is not no. And it may not be identified as pious religious talk, but it can be identified as a smokescreen for you and for the world. I mean, People do it all the times, and myself included. I would like to try something sometime. Do you ever find yourself saying that? Do you ever find yourself saying, boy, someday, I'd like to learn how to play the piano and take some piano lessons. Someday I'd like to learn another language. I'd like to learn Spanish so I can communicate with people around me. I'd like to, ... Someday I'm going to get organized. Someday I'm going to clean out my closet. Well, you do that, right? You do that. But as long as it's someday, it's not real. One of the examples I think Jesus is talking about. Just don't talk about cleaning out your closet. Just don't talk about it, because it's a waste of energy and it's a waste of time, because someday just sometimes never happens. I bet there's another kind of language that you participated in even in this last week, right? Seeing people you haven't seen for a while. Hey, we really need to get together. Let's get together. Let's get that on the calendar. Let's get together, right? If nobody's pulling out their calendars, that intention is, I'm saying this because I do miss seeing you, but it's not important enough for me to put it on my calendar right now. I'm sorry, I may be being a little close to home here. But it's true, right? It's true. You on a regular basis will say, we really need to get together. What Jesus is saying is, stop it. Either get together or don't say anything at all. That's religious talk in today's world. I'm not kidding. You've said it, maybe, if you're like me. If you haven't, somebody said it to you and has no intention in getting together with you after the holidays. It's just the way we talk to each other these days. Hey, you know what? We should really go to Newfields this year. Hey, how about that Jingle Rails? That looks kind of cool. Let's go to Jingle Rails. Oh, Connor Prairie's got something going on for the holidays. Let's go do that. Christmas at the zoo. Let's go do that. Friends, it was 60 degrees this year, and how many of you never got through to doing those things? It happened to a lot of us. Just don't say it. That's what Jesus is saying. Instead of saying we should really get in the car and go, that's what Jesus is saying. Our communication is jacked up. It was jacked up 2,000 years ago, and it's jacked up today. And we got to find a way to figure it out. I do think Jesus is saying, stop wasting your time and mine. Think about how you can live a rich, full life, and make sure your communication and your conversation is reflective of that. I think we have gotten far too comfortable with this kind of way of communicating. I think we have gotten far too comfortable with not saying what we mean or not saying anything at all. I think this can be the year of truly ensuring that your word is true. True to you and true to those who are around you. I believe if we start with our language and we let our yes be yes and our no be no, or even better, shut up, don't say anything at all if you're not clear, the world will be a better place. Now, with that said, you are here today because you want a better life and you want a better world. Your understanding that can and does transform this world. That's why you're here. So you want to make a difference in the world. You can start participating in that in a very real way today by being intentional about your language. Being very intentional about your language. For example, you may be somebody who, at this very moment right now, has a family member who is in need of a visit. You're really aware of the needs around you. When you say, I need to, it doesn't much encourage you to follow through. A need, you gotta want to. I want to be with someone who is in a tough space, and I know that the power and the energy of God that is around me is gonna give me what I need to be present in that space. So instead of saying, I need, I want my uncle to know just how much I love him. See, changing it to that changes everything. Because the truth is you may well not have the time in your schedule. You may not well have what you need to get that done. But recognizing what you want and what you can do does make a difference. Perhaps realizing how much you love that person will give you what you need to just sit down and write a note and say, you know how much I love you? Or to ask your kids or your grandkids to, hey, just today, draw some pictures. Draw some pictures for Uncle. Draw some pictures for Dennis Harmon. Draw some pictures. That is making a difference in the world. Not needing to do something and not following through on it. Doing it. We sometimes use language that just is not definitive. So many of you, and I love you all so very much, let me say this, say to me, what? Habitat's in February. Either you're going or you're not. If you're going, get excited about it. Get in plan. If you're serious about wanting to be part of that group, which makes a big difference, not only for them, but for you, because it's sunny and beautiful, then say, in 2022, a week of my vacation is going to be spent at Habitat. Make it real. Put transforming the world into your docket, or guess what? Don't. Right? Someday I'm going to go and be part of Gardens. Do you get what I'm saying here? My desire is not to shame you unless it moves you to get something done. My desire is to say, be true to yourself. Be true to your language. Be true to your God. Someday I want to become a small part of something bigger in the garden. I know you do. But I'm not going to make you do it. I know you got things going on. You have to be clear about what your intention is. Now, another thing that Sandra did, which I love, is she made a way of figuring out how to say yes and how to say it. Oh, nice. That's good. That's right. So in order for her to say yes to the things that were important to her, she had to figure out how to say no to what wasn't important. I've totally lost my place, so let's hope this works. And it's all jumbled up. I'm preaching something different than what's written there, so we'll figure this out. She had to figure out how to say no. And not only did she have to figure out how to say no, she had to figure out how to say, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that. Try that. I'm not going to be able to do that. Not, I would sure love to do that, but boy, do we have blah, 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 blah. Difficult person to say no to. unless you are my husband. So I'm going to say something, and please, either this is going to work or you're never going to come back, all right? Hey, are you going to Soups On today? No. Nice. That's absolutely right. Not, oh, Carolyn's going to be disappointed in me, and I'm not going to be around the wet homeless people, and oh no, I'm not going to be able to do that. Hey, are you going to Soups On today? Guess what? I love you. And God loves you. Do you get what we're getting to here? Let's let the garden's language truly reflect who we are. We are children of God. We are children of God who speak with love. Well, somebody started early on Facebook, and I thought it was somebody here. I don't even remember who it was. But she chronicled her whole adventure of cleaning out this closet, of moving from a life of piles to something very, very different. And I have to tell you, she did it with such great intention. Was it you guys? Okay, she did it with this great intention, and she showed pictures of like even her underwear and everything. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. And so as part of my Christmas Day activity, I got rid of a few piles. Let me tell you, God bless us, everyone. It was the best Christmas ever. And you know what else? I took some things that I thought were fairly nice for someone who still hasn't reached but she'll get there if she keeps working on it. She's a little less weight than me, I'm just joking. That I thought, well, maybe she'd like these clothes. So I'm like, look, no pressure. If you want these, great. If you don't, great. We met for lunch. I gave her the clothes. I got a call later on that said, oh my gosh, this was Christmas. This. So in 2020, instead of this year, I'm not suggesting that you say yes to everything, but I'm suggesting you be very intentional about your language. You be very intentional about this time that God has gifted you with. And you be clear. You be clear as Jesus is clear in saying yes and in saying no. It's time to stop embellishing our conversations to feel better about ourselves for not following through on this or not doing that. We don't have time for that, especially those of us in this room, because we are not the young adults in the world. We have time to start living our lives in such a way where our language is intentional, our love is intentional, and sometimes that means you disappoint yourself and you disappoint others, but guess what? You just keep moving on. Think about what you really want to do this year and put it into action. Think about what you don't want to do this year and work on the conversation around not getting it done. Do you get it? That's what Jesus is talking about here. Stop embellishing life in such a way that it just isn't working for you or those around you. We have talked a lot about Mary, Joseph, and the wise men throughout this whole adventure. And this next week is Epiphany, and that's when the wise men really arrived. And for those of you who see him, your manger scene has him there. Rumor has it he was like a toddler or 4. She said yes. She got herself into a very difficult situation, and God helped her through it because she fully committed to it. Joseph, on the other hand, had a very difficult situation, and guess what he said to society and everybody else who said, you know, you can handle this in a particular way. He said, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. And he did what he could. And then the wise men, they were 3 guys who found their focus and moved out on the adventure, and their answers were yes and no. Herod, No. Jesus, yes. Star, let's go. I think there's a really important lesson there for all of us as we move into the new year. I think the reason the Christmas story lives on is that we have people who know how to say yes. We have people who know how to say no. We have people who find their purpose and meaning in life, and they follow it. That's exactly what Jesus is saying in this text today. It's exciting when you think about it, friends, but it's also something that if you want to transform the world, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me right now. So hard not to go to the buts. Remember, anything that comes after a but is not anything you want any part of anyway, right? So don't do it. Don't do it. Be intentional about every word that comes out of your mouth. That's all we're asking for in the garden this year. We're asking us to live with intention, with love in our hearts, and to realize it's not easy. For the close of this sermon today, we have a video about a woman who said yes to be a teacher, who taught a young man who time after time could have been told, no, 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 no. But instead, he saw something more for his life. And it is a profound story and a profound transformation when people learn how to live their life with intention. So as you move forth into this new year, first, Happy New Year. God bless you all. You're part of an important family that we call the garden. And this year, our conversation, our communication will have great intention and be filled with love. Take a look at this video. Say to somebody next to you, yes! 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 Let me hear you.
Yes.
All right. You ready? Here's the harder one. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that. Oh, come on. With feeling. I'm not going to be able to do that. And then you can say, yes! Get it? Kind of. All right. Hey, somebody asked me about what's the best way to get downtown. I don't remember who. But I could say yes, how to get downtown. Take Michigan up and then go up, and then that's how you get to... Follow me! Follow me. So, I love you guys. Happy New Year. God bless you all. Say yes. Say, I'm not going to be able to do that. So you can say yes to the powerful possibilities that God has in store for you. Go now in peace. And may the love of God be yours today, tomorrow, and forevermore. Amen.
2, 3, 4.